So now I want to talk about the enrichments in Clay and answer a question: to enrich or not to enrich? What does that mean? So I want to speak about the two core components of Clay in more detail: the pre-built integrations, as well as the AI component. And then there's a third category I'm not going to cover too much in this video, which is connecting to an external API if it's not native to Clay. But it's sort of a subcategory of number one, which is enriching with the data provider. So Clay has over 100 different data providers. You can get tech data from Built With, you can get data from Clearbit, you can get phone and email data from like over 20 different phone and email vendors. You can pull data from Google Maps. You can get data from Google itself, from GitHub, from Google News, from HG Insights, Hunter.io, Instagram data, like follower accounts, things like that. LinkedIn data. It just goes on and on. SimilarWeb for traffic, SEMrush, etc. And this is great, and usually these providers require you to pay Clay credits. So for this example, I'm trying to get Marlboro's revenue. So I use the revenue waterfall, and if I go here, I can say revenue, and it will waterfall, in this case, 5 different providers. I'm going to remove Clearbit and Owler because I don't want to spend so many credits. But I just give it the company website, I hit save, and then these providers will return the data they have. So in this case, it went for Rocket Reach first, and it did not have any revenue in Rocket Reach, so it then ran the second provider, and you can see here it found revenue and it charged me 5 credits. So it actually charged me 8 credits because this Rocket Reach charges you per company enrichment call, and even though the field I was looking for does not have a result, since the whole thing was returned, I had to pay. So that's one of the downsides of using enrichments, is that it costs a lot of Clay credits, and Clay credits are definitely the most expensive component of Clay, and people often complain about how expensive they are. The reality is they're actually not expensive, especially considered to buying the data up front or the cost of manually enriching or things like that. It's actually cheap. If you know what you're talking about, you realize it's a deal. But even still, within Clay credits are more expensive than using APIs for things like OpenAI. So, sometimes it's better to avoid using enrichments if you can get the data on your own with OpenAI or a different source. Another thing to consider with Clay enrichments is that sometimes certain information is not going to be always so accurate with an enrichment. So for example, let's say you're selling to an established B2B SaaS company, right? And you want to know their employee count. So LinkedIn almost definitely has accurate headcount data because most people in SaaS companies are on LinkedIn and they publish themselves working at the company. And so the LinkedIn data is very accurate. So using the enrich company feature from Clay, which is just LinkedIn data, would definitely get you good results. On the other hand, if you're selling to small businesses like plumbers or really small roofing companies, most of them are not going to be on LinkedIn. And even if they are, maybe only the owner, but most of the employees won't be. So LinkedIn would not be a good source for that. In that case, you might want to be looking at the website, looking at their team or about page to figure out who works there. So that would be more of a case where AI or Clay or web scraping could be a better option for you. So, there are definitely cases where you would want to use headcount, like the enrich company or employee headcount enrichments in Clay, because they're much more likely to be accurate and reliable, and in which case it's probably worth paying for the credits. In other cases, if you can find the data with web scraping and with OpenAI, with Clayagent, using your own OpenAI API key or something like that. So in that case, you're probably better off not using the Clay enrichments, and you can just use the AI instead. But the beautiful thing about Clay is it allows you to use your judgment on what you want to do and build your own workflows. So for example, for business category over here, or I'll do business type, let's show this in the last example. We took the company summary that we generated in the last step, the Clayagent step from our introduction video that I showed you, that we basically took the website and in this table, we summarized what they did with Clayagent. I just pushed that summary into this row over here, and now I have the summary. And then I use AI to take this summary and determine if this company is a brand that sells directly to consumers or an agency like PwC or something else. And so this is an AI decision. This is something that an integration wouldn't even have or wouldn't know, because it's a very custom business rule that needs, like, and so to speak, a person to think about it and make a decision that understands the context of the rule, like agency, brand, what are the differences, and then taking some kind of summary and making a choice. That's like definitely an AI prompt task. So I think those are the 2 core components of Clay. And every time you're trying to understand, like, what should I be building, what should I do, the first step is, okay, what information do I want? What is the purpose of this? Where am I starting from? What is the end goal here, right? In this case, it's going to be, I want the brand for, I want the business type. Sorry, is it a brand or an agency? Well, can I go to an enrichment provider for that? No, I don't think so. It's a custom business rule that I have. Can I use AI for that? For sure. I can. How? I'll summarize what the company does with Clayagent. I'll take that summary and then I'll pass it into another prompt that says, based on this company summary, determine if it's an agency, a brand, or something else. An agency does this, a brand does this, and otherwise you can label it as other. Here you go. This is exactly what we did here. Given the following company summary, classify the business into one of the predefined segments below with at least 9% confidence. The business does not clearly fit into either segment, output other. The output should be on the agency, brand, or other, and nothing else, right? And then I gave it the two segments, and I passed in the company summary, and then boom. And for Marlboro, it shows brand, which is accurate. And so in a different case, if I'm trying to go for a headcount from Marlboro, I probably would want to use the Enrich Company feature, because then I'm going to get, I think they're probably pretty accurate on LinkedIn. So I can go for it here. I'll try and enrich them, and we'll see how many employees they have. So in this case, for this type of company, right, this actually is probably a corporate headcount number. So actually, this might be an example where you might want to use ClayGen, because let's say this is probably only corporate employees at Marlboro that are listing themselves up. This number is how many people are on the LinkedIn company page. So if it's a company, for example, where most people are going to be on LinkedIn, this would be an accurate number. But because Marlboro may have lots of factory workers, you could say, how many employees are employed at Marlboro, right? Actually, I'll say at company, right? Return your answer as an integer value, okay? So this is going to go search the web, and perhaps the internet is going to have more reliable data. Like, you search Google and you look at how many employees they have, you can read about it and pull back that number. If I look up how many employees work at Marlboro, right? 83,000. So this is the parent company. And so perhaps understanding the differences there, what you're looking for as well, could be a big deal. So here we go, Marlboro, 10,000 plus employees. Yeah. So maybe you want to take, instead of taking this employee count number, which is people that are associated to it on LinkedIn themselves, you could go for the size in this case, which is going to be by the company itself, which is going to be more accurate. So this is sort of, I guess, the battle I'm trying to illustrate. You have to, as a clay sculptor, you have to be thinking, what data do I want, and what kind of company is it, and what's the most reliable source for me to go and get it, and try and think through, what do I care more about, like accuracy or price? Like, do I want the most accurate data and I'll pay more for it? Do I want less accurate data but it's cheaper? Where's the best place to go for it? What's possible? And then make your decision. And so that's sort of what we think about often at Clay. And for every single property we're enriching, which you'll see during the Clay for HubSpot use case videos, that we are always scoping every single data point individually, and we build the unique Clay table like the one I just showed you here for every single property that we enrich. So in this case, this whole table is just for the business type rule, and we're using AI for that. Every single table that we build, we have a scope and the defined criteria of how we're going to source the data that we can give off to our freelancer, hand off to our freelancer to build. But that's sort of the question, to enrich or not to enrich. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, you can leave a comment in the Loom and I'll answer it. But this is a high-level sort of decision tree you have to make every time you go and source data in Clay. Excuse me.